Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the Eachine dustX58. This is a 58mm brushless micro, and it's 1S, and it comes with these new motors here, the BR007 20,000 kV motors. I don't think you can get these separately. You can get the 15,000 kV motors separately, but I think only the 20,000 kV motors come on the dustX58. So something that if you guys are looking for these high kV motors, it only comes with this particular model. Uses the Tiny Fish flight controller and some 4 amp 4-in-1 1S ESCs. They're BLLES and D-Shot 600 ready. Although I think it came out of the box as configured for D-Shot 150. Flew fine on that. The little these two little boards here are 16 by 16 millimeters, so they're even smaller than the other microboards that I've been using. The flight controller is called the Tiny Fish, and it's based on Betaflight 3.1.5. I did not flash it to 3.1.7, although you probably can do that pretty easily. It shows up in Betaflight configurator as the Tiny Fish target. And it comes with a built-in FreeSky receiver. It's an S-Bus D8 receiver, and there's a small bind button here on the underside of the board. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. It's a little hard to pick up in this lighting, but it's right there, and you have to press and hold that button while you plug in the battery to do your binding. So it comes with 31mm 3-bladed props here. These are the same ones that come on the King Kong Tiny 7. The carbon frame here is 1mm carbon, so you got this prop guard on the outside. That's one piece, and then you've got on the bottom here this support piece here that mounts your electronics, your motors, and your ESCs. And then those two are joined together with 2 nylon screws and this little metal standoff here that holds it together. It's actually fairly flexible, as you can see here. Didn't seem to affect flight too much, and it didn't seem like there was too much vibration. It's probably because the flight controller is using the MP 6000 gyro, not the 9250 like on the Femto. The FPV camera is mounted on this little TPU mount with a couple pieces of double-sided foam tape on each side with a little bit of an angle, so maybe about 15 to 20 degrees. And you can kind of move it around a little bit in there if you want to adjust that angle, but this is the well-known camera that's on a lot of these micros. It's the VM275T, and it's 48 channels. It's PAL and TSC switchable. So it doesn't come with a whole lot of stuff in the box. You get a 1S 450 milliamp hour battery. It's only rated for 20C. You get another set of props, rear props if you need them, and you get your classic USB to micro low-C 1S battery charger. That's all you get, no instructions. Now to connect to the flight controller, it is a little tricky getting the USB cable to plug in here without it running into the side of the prop here, but it is possible. Also, it does not power on from the USB port. You have to plug in a battery, and that will give power to the board. Then you plug in your USB cord, and then the computer will recognize it as the inside Betaflight configurator. So keep that in mind. So here's a couple quick size comparisons. Here on the left here is a classic Tiny Whoop. Uses 30mm props, and over here on the right it's going to be the dustX58. This uses the 40mm King Kong props. It's a little bit bigger overall in size. Here's a comparison to the King Kong Tiny 7. This is using actually the exact same props. These are the King Kong 7 or Tiny 7s using the 7mm brushed motors, and I believe this brushless setup is actually lighter than the King Kong Tiny 7. I'll do some weight measurements here in a second. And then here is the Aurora 68 next to the dustX58, and obviously the Aurora 68 is going to be a 2S setup, and then over here is a 1S setup. By the way, this is 1S only. The dustX58 is 1S only. Do not plug in a 2S LiPo. You will probably fry the ESCs and the motors and the flight controller and everything is on here. So everything is rated for 1S for this one, just to be aware of that. So here's some weight measurements. And it comes in just a little over about 25.5 grams for this guy. Pretty damn light for a brushless micro. Here's the actual tiny whip. Obviously it's all without the battery, and this one comes in a little over 21 grams, so it's only about 4 grams heavier. And here's the brushed Tiny 7, and this is actually heavier than the dustX58, 32 grams for this one. And here's the Aurora 68, and this one's at 51 grams, so it's about double the weight of this one here. So there wasn't a whole lot to do to set this up in Betaflight Configurator. You want to make sure you check your channel maps, make sure that's mapped correctly so that all the channels are moving in the right directions and in the correct magnitude. You also want to make sure that your sub trims are set correctly, and so your channels are centered so that things aren't drifting all over the place. And then I just put in some PIDs. I just thought that might work. I think the P gains are a little bit high. You'll see that in the flight video, but other than that, I think it flew pretty well. Just needs a little bit more tuning, but I'm going to spend a little more time on that later. But the PIDs that I have, I'll put up on the screen here, are pretty close to working pretty well. So you'll find that in the video, in the flight video. Anyway, I'm going to go and roll some flight video now. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Also, if you want to see any sort of future demo flights of this, also put that in the comments, and I'll try and make that happen in a future video. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Okay, let's do a little bit of indoor line of sight here. Very stable. Pretty good power. It's very smooth. Very little drift. Try a little Acro Flips here. Pretty good recovery power. I am in air mode. Acro Flips are pretty nice.